weren't for one of her friends that was working on a design within Illustrator her sophomore year of college, Claire Zimmerman would be on the Breaking and Entering Medical School podcast. Patent pending. Claire would also not be creating work for Gatorade at TBWA Chiat Day in LA as a senior art director. Now, I might have barred myself from the ad industry this episode, but before we start, do you know what TBWA stands for? You'll hear me butcher it this episode. As well, in this episode, we talk about Claire's unconventional process of breaking into advertising. Originally from Boston, she has worked in Miami, Portland, and now LA. You'll hear her advice and perspective on breaking into the industry and how one of her activations at Cannes gave her confidence to succeed. To see her recommended resources handpicked just for you, head to our Instagram at EnteringAd. This episode is supported by Chicago Portfolio School. See how they've helped thousands of people break into agencies by visiting chicagoportfolio.com. Tell them Breaking and Entering sent you, and they'll send you a free marker. Now, on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast, and as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. Claire Zimmerman, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I know you got fire alarms going on in the background in their tests in your apartment. So hopefully we don't get distracted.
I think we're good. Hopefully all clear. So fingers crossed.
Good. So Claire, you are a senior art director at TBWA Chiat Day in Los Angeles. Did I say that correctly? It's like the best agency ever.
That is right. It's a mouthful, but you got it.
Now, do you know what TBWA stands for is our first question.
Oh my gosh. I definitely should, and I'm so embarrassed, but I don't. So
No, I don't think anybody knows what it stands for. My boss worked there. He's been in the industry for a long time, and he kind of knows it, but he also forgets. But let's look it up.
Yeah.
TBWA stands for people, right?
People?
So there's the names of the founders.
I know Chiat and Day are the names. I don't know if TBWA.
All right, I got it. William G. Tragos, Claude Bonanage, Yuli Wessendanger, and Paolo Ajoldi.
Yeah, that's totally it.
There goes my chances of ever working there. So
yeah, I'll put in a good word for you.
Yes. Okay. So TBWA Senior Art Director, we're going to talk about what you do, how you got there, and any advice that you have for our students that are listening. And, we're studying advertising. We learn about TBWA. We learn about all the great work. We hear it all the time. Lee Clow, Media Arts Lab, the different branches that they have. It's a powerhouse. So we definitely want to hear about your experiences. But first, tell us about what you do there as a senior art director.
Sure. So I am a senior art director on the Gatorade account, which is kind of this incredible, iconic brand. And as a senior art director, I'm responsible for creating the concepts for big campaigns, also working through visual direction for those campaigns, and kind of really the works. I kind of touch everything. I'll write a little bit here and there, and it's very collaborative. And I have an incredible partner, Jeff Pelton, and it's been really fun.
Nice. And how long have you been there?
I've actually only been there for like 4 months, so it's still pretty new. I'm still getting the swing of things and sort of learning everything and diving in and getting to know my team, which has actually been a bit difficult being remote. Like we're still remote right now.
Sure.
But it's really exciting, and Chiat is the iconic legacy brand or agency, and it's just an honor to be able to work there.
Sure. And have you been there to the location at all?
I actually have. I have driven by the place, but I have not actually gone inside yet. So hopefully when we go back, I'll be able to get that full experience because I've seen the pics. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's like the coolest location. I feel like what's this? What did it say on the side of the building? Be more human and in doubt, be more dog. That's kind of
Yep.
famous.
They love the dogs there. I heard there's lots of dogs in the office all the time. So,
Mm.
and I have a golden retriever, so I look forward to bringing him one
No,
day.
of course. What's your dog's name?
His name is Banksy, so it's very
Banksy,
on brand.
like the artist, street
Yep.
artist.
Yep.
Okay, so you haven't been there, but how's the digital onboarding been as you know through COVID and all that? Has it been good?
Yeah, it's actually been pretty thorough. Like they have a pretty great process set up. Kind of just getting onboarded with all the processes and systems and signing up for health insurance and everything. So that was great.
Hmm.
Um, and then I've been able to sort of meet one on one with team members. With our
Oh, like in person or just like
No, just through
oh,
Zoom, and
okay,
actually we use Teams,
sure.
Microsoft Teams. So yeah, I don't know. I think remote is really challenging because we can't be physically together, but we do have access to people, and it's a lot easier to make meetings, I think, versus having to go in person.
Gotcha, gotcha. So who's your partner? Who's your copywriter partner?
My copywriter is Jeff Pelton. He's incredible. He's been there for a couple years, been on the
Okay.
brand. He really knows his thing. So I've been able to learn a lot from him and sort of.
And you guys you jumped on Gatorade. And are you allowed to talk about any of the work that you're working on currently, or can you hint at it?
I can't talk about any of the work right
Okay.
now.
I always
We
try
are
to pry
working.
at that a little bit.
Have you ever gotten an answer that was like a little inside look?
I
No.
have. I had to edit it out though, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, sorry, not
untypical.
today, my friend. But we
Okay.
are working on some big campaign work for next year.
For what?
For next year, for
Okay.
2020.
I thought you were gonna say like a category of some sort.
No, I can't.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Gatorade sounds like a fun client. Maybe you're working with celebrities. Any celebrities you're working with? Any
Perhaps.
athletes?
You know, Gatorade's got an incredible roster, so I wouldn't
Sure.
be surprised if you saw some of them pop up here and there.
I'm sure, being in Los Angeles. What's the Los Angeles market like? Have you been there for a while or are you new there?
So I moved here right before the pandemic. It
Okay.
was February of last year, so really great timing. But LA had always been my goal. Like you said, I grew up in Boston, and I was like, I just want to get to the West Coast one day. And for advertising, it's really like LA and New York are the two
Mhm.
big ones. So I
Sure.
didn't want to go to New York. I was fine. Boston's my city, not New York, and
Mhm.
so LA was my goal. And there's so many agencies out here, whether it's big, small, sort of social first content studios, in-house, like brand side. You can find it all here.
I feel like there's a lot of like good production studios probably out there.
Yeah, ton. I mean, these like movie central out here, so there's
Yeah.
so many production studios.
Hmm. Chicago's pretty good too. No,
Chicago is good. Chicago is good. I'm
I always
sorry.
have to give it a shout out, but
Hey,
yeah, no,
Chicago, Miami, and Austin, some pretty good ones as well.
yeah. Yeah. So let's kick it back to how you got here. You said you're from Boston, but how did you decide that you wanted to get into advertising and to end up at TBWA? Well, where did it all start?
That's a great question. So yes, grew up in Boston, went to University of Miami for college, and I had always been creative growing up, but for some reason I always thought I was just going to be a math and science girl. So I was actually pre-med studying exercise physiology, which is like sports medicine for my first 2 years of college. I grew up playing volleyball really competitively, and that was just something I was super passionate about. And I mean, 2 years in on the pre-med track, I was just like, this is not this is not for me. I was just not really doing very well, and I had always been a pretty good student, but I just
Mhm.
wasn't passionate about it. And it was sort of taking a toll on me mentally and physically. And then one day I saw my friend, shout out Alex Picrelli, she was working on an Illustrator on her computer, and I'd never even like known the program. I just looked over. I was like, "What are you doing? Is this for school?" And she told me that she was a creative advertising major. She told me all about art direction and all about sort of advertising as a career, and I just didn't know that was even an option. And I switched immediately. I just switched to creative advertising and started my sort of journey and learning what it is and what a concept is and how to use Photoshop. And I was hooked from there and never looked back. So got pretty
Interesting. So, and were you able to graduate on time? What, you were a sophomore that you switched
yeah.
over?
I was a sophomore, and I think it was the second half of sophomore year, and was I just went into overdrive and worked really, really hard. I think I was at the perfect time where I was still able to take all the classes I needed to. I just had to honestly build my own portfolio and just do all these side projects to even get
Sure.
somewhere at the end. But I did
Right.
graduate on time.
You graduated on time, which is that's impressive. But then, not only is it impressive to graduate on time, it's impressive that you had a portfolio or something scraped together within like those 2 years, because it takes people a long time to do so. Tell me about that process. How did you get that extra experience? Were you doing spec work, and how did it end up when you graduated?
Oh yeah. So luckily, University of Miami has an incredible ad program, and they have classes that are sort of built to get you some portfolio work. Nothing like an ad school or one of
Mhm.
those, but just like a handful of projects that would work.
Sure.
And then in addition to that, I just did spec work with my friends. I didn't even think of doing sort of ad camp or ad competitions. It was just sort of what's a brand we like, what's an idea, what is something we can make,
Mhm.
and that's kind of all we did. So my first book was not great, which is what everybody would say, but it was
Mhm.
enough to sort of show that I had the passion and the sort of at least some sort of skills to get an internship.
This is interesting to me, and this is like my new, like, as of like the past week, is a perspective in the conversations that I've been having. My perspective has changed to that if you're an undergrad student, and I don't know if I like will be like if this is illegal to say, but I think if you're an undergrad, like what you just said there, you just got with your friends and you didn't even do like competitions or ad clubs. My new perspective is if you're an undergrad, you should team up with your creative friends and just create spec work all day. Because when you get these clients, and I've been saying this now consistently, when you get these clients at these ad clubs, sometimes they're not asking for the most creative work. They're asking for a coupon.
Right.
They're asking for, help me promote this 50% off offer for whatever it may be at this local sandwich shop. So when you're creating spec work like that, you're building portfolio pieces. And now if you're interested in strategy or you're interested in account, it doesn't really matter. Like just keeping up with the clients is a great experience as well. So do you agree with that? Is that blasphemy? What's your thoughts on that?
No, I fully agree with that. I think anybody who is a creator and has creative friends can get together and make some really dope work, especially now. I'm like scared for the new generation coming for my job because they're already doing this and they're like 14 or younger.
Yeah.
So I think if you just find your sort of group of friends and can, if your strengths are one thing and their strengths are another, it's a way to really collaborate and create something great. But I agree. I think it's the way to make something that you're most proud of. You can be your own
Mhm.
creative director, and you can just, there are no rules. It's like you can go as big as you want and just really make it what you want.
Mhm.
So fully
So
agree.
you did that. I mean, were you so you when you went sophomore year from pre-med to advertising, I'm curious to what your parents would say about that. But besides the point, you found up with friends. Did you do any clubs or did any activities like how, you just went into overdrive, like spec work?
Yeah. So my parents were very supportive. So thank you, parents.
That's
But
very
yeah,
good.
I wasn't in any clubs. I didn't We had NSAC, which was sort of
Mhm.
a college, yeah,
Of
you
course.
know what that is.
National Student Advertising Competition run through the American Advertising Federation.
Yes, that. And
Yeah.
I don't even know if I applied to the team or I just didn't make it, but so that would have been great because that would have been some great book work. But I just honestly, on the weekends, would get my friends, create like photo studios in my apartment and just did it super, super scrappy, and just worked really hard.
Hey, the NSAC competition, I this might be a secret, like, that's great stuff too, but what you did is a testament, you know, to the process that it might be more beneficial to get with your friends if they're super creative, because that competition, you're sometimes in a room with 30 to 50 students all, like, bouncing ideas around and nothing really gets to work most of the time, but I won't say that out loud. I won't say that, promote that
Hey,
idea, but it happens.
I agree. I think that's a great sort of step into what advertising is actually like, how an agency is run, but in terms of just making work that you're stoked about, just do it
Mhm.
with your friends.
Well, yeah, I mean, the portfolio is what gets you a job. Like,
Right.
and now obviously your personality and your ability to work with others, but portfolio is super important. And, sometimes you won't get those opportunities with offshoot clubs or clients. So, okay. So take it from there. Did you have any internships or did you just like go into the job search process once you graduated?
Yeah, so I was definitely on the job search and sort of internship search for a long time. My
Mhm.
dream was to get an internship at Nike. Didn't even hear back from them, so I was like, "All right, cool."
Sure.
But kept manifesting that, and then I just sort of towards the end of the application process applied to Sapient in Miami, which was right by University of Miami, and I had been able to go on a tour there and everything, and they selected me. I don't know if someone dropped out and I just got lucky and got that last spot, but I got to work at Sapient Miami, and then I ended up staying there for about 2 years.
Okay.
And
What was your role there? Was it art director?
yeah, it was well at the time I think it was just creative,
Sure.
but I was definitely on the art direction track. And then I was partnered with Kat Samarista, who is my writer.
Mhm.
She's actually become my sort of like long term partner throughout all these years. So it's just been really awesome to have her. And then a couple other interns who had more account and strategy and PM roles. But yeah, I think there I just really learned what advertising was. The Everybody there who worked at Sapient had been there for like 10, 15 years, so they were super tight knit. Um,
Nice.
Sapient Miami was sort of like the black sheep of all the Sapients, where they kind of just, I don't know if that's what they said, but they just had more fun and just it felt like sort of very different than I think other agencies have
So
felt.
this is a part of Publicis Network?
Yeah, it's called, I think it's Razorfish now. It went through a
Razorfish?
lot of name changes, but at the time I think it was Sapient Nitro when I started.
Jeez. Cool names for sure.
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, I remember interning at Publicis, and then there was Publicis, Razorfish,
Yep.
Sapient Health, something
Yep.
like that. So, what clients did you work on there?
So mainly it was Carnival Cruise Lines, did a little bit of Universal, got to do some Virgin Voyages at the end, which was Richard Branson's
Oh, of
cruise
course.
line. That was
Nice.
dope. Did a lot of new business pitches, which I think was just great experience as a junior. And yeah, oh, and Miami Heat. So that was really fun.
And what?
Miami Heat.
Gotcha. Wow. So that was your break-in. And to recap it, you were a sophomore studying pre-med sports medicine, and you said, "Okay, I'm done with that." And you saw your friend using Illustrator. You asked her about it, you just switched right away,
Yep.
and you got with your friends that were creative. You teamed up. You created work. You had a portfolio put together, and you applied, and you got a job. Love
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely. I think it's a combination of hard work and luck. Like this industry, a lot of it is luck. And if you work hard enough and get lucky enough, like you can definitely break in.
Yeah. And you mentioned, or today you're at TBWA, but what were some of those? What other agencies did you work at, or what were some lessons along the way that really resonate with you today, that got you to where you're at?
Sure. I can kind of go over where I went because I think yeah I learned a lot along the way. So I
Yeah.
was obviously in Miami. I was at Sapient for 2 years, but I'd been in Miami already for 6 years, and I was just itching to move on.
Okay.
And I had done a couple side projects that got a little bit of notice in the industry, and I got hit up about a job to
What
work
was a side project?
the side. So in I think it was 2016, Kat Samarista, my partner at Sapient, and we did the Young Lions competition, and we ended up placing second. So we didn't get to go and compete, but I mean, placing second in Young Lions was enough to sort of get noticed. And our agencies were really, really kind and sent us actually to Cannes. So we got to go to Cannes, we got to go to the festival, we got to be
Amazing.
exposed to all this incredible work and energy and people. And while we were there, we were like, hey, we really need to come up with a project that can maybe like get some more notice. We're surrounded by the ad world's best and brightest, so let's do something.
Hmm.
And along with my other collaborator, Marina Rutenberg, we came up with this idea called unsolicited airdrop. And so at the time, airdrop was kind of this new tech, or not even new, but it just was an untapped tech. And I love using tech in different ways. How can you hack it in some way?
Sure.
Um, so using airdrop, we wanted to so in 2016, the Me Too movement had been going on for a little bit. It was like lots of people are talking about it, but um, at Cannes, there weren't really any conversations about it. So we were like, how can we continue the conversation around the Me Too movement on the ground? So unsolicited airdrop, the idea is that on the ground, we would airdrop the site to everybody around us. And essentially anybody who had airdrop turned on, they'd get this notification on their phone that said, what's worse than an unsolicited airdrop, an unsolicited advance? So we felt that that sort of intrusive feeling of someone getting onto your phone almost mimicked in a much lighter way what an unsolicited advance would look like or feel like.
Yeah.
So that was just a sort of smart little connection and insight that connected tech and cause. So yeah, we
Wow.
did that on the ground, and we were really scared. We thought we were going to get like backlash, or we didn't tell our
No
agencies
way.
about it. We just wanted to.
Really?
Yeah, I was scared we were gonna get in trouble somehow. I remember at one point we airdropped it. It got on one of those big screens, and they couldn't figure out how to get it off. So it was very like guerrilla, guerrilla advertising.
Yes, I haven't heard that term in a while, actually.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that was. Very smart activation, and it's for a good cause, and it just was so smart and well executed. What were some of the results of that? Like,
Oh gosh, I don't think I have my book up, but it was really amazing that looking at the analytics of our site, I think we were able to reach over 500 people, but the countries that we reached, there was like 40 different countries that we were able to get into,
mhm.
and the numbers keep going up even today. So it's like organically being shared around the world still, and I just think that's incredible because it was literally the two of us on the ground just sharing it.
Now
And
this is where were you at this where were you working? Were you a student? What was the
Yeah,
timeline of this?
I was still at Sapient, and I wasn't a student any longer. I think I was in my second year of being at Sapient. I was still just a junior.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it was another thing where we had this idea. We were like, airdrop is really interesting, and airdrop feels intrusive. And it just we found the connection and went for it.
Yeah, and then it leads to donating to the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund. So
Right.
it all makes sense, all 360.
Yeah,
Really
and
smart.
part of it was that we wanted to encourage others to continue this sort of action of airdropping, to other
Mhm,
people, so we encouraged people to change the name of their phone to Peggy Olson, and then, shout out Mad Men, and then
mhm.
share it to people so we could kinda, like, continue this effort.
Interesting. And you claim that you're the first person to do this airdrop, unsolicited airdrop, and that's probably true, but it also caught fire from other different activations. I remember Childish Gambino, like, airdropped something at his concert for, like, free shoes.
Yeah, if I was, Childish Gambino, then maybe more people would have talked about it, but
Sure, sure. But you did a better cause. You had a better I think you had a better campaign than he did, just giving away free shoes or whatever it was, so this is probably
Right,
more
but I was
effective.
also a junior and scared and didn't really think about everything, so if I had been able to just get my agency behind me and really make this a real thing, then
Right.
it could have been a lot bigger,
Do
so
you
that was
think
a
you
good
could have
learning.
done that? Like, do you think at that time or with those people, they would have accepted it and been like, "This is a great idea," or
Yeah, absolutely, because when we got back, we kinda shared the idea to our creative directors, and they were like, "What are you why didn't you tell us about this? Like, we could've
Ah,
we could have done something,"
so
and
the hindsight, 2020.
hindsight 2020 is, like, leverage the people around you and know
Well
that they will believe in you.
well, I get that, like, sometimes it's, like, better to ask for forgiveness than permission type
Yes.
thing,
Yep.
but I don't know if I feel like I would have probably wanted to sneak around too, if I was like a junior and I wasn't sure, but you know,
We also just didn't know if it was gonna work. Like, it was totally in beta when we were there, just, like, testing it
okay.
out, and it ended up working, so
Wow. Interesting, interesting. Okay, so share your ideas if you're young, and maybe you'll get more support or sneak around. Your
yeah.
call. Either one. I don't know.
Either one, it works, so.
So what about what were the results of that for you then, other than like the personal satisfaction, actually helping a cause? Did you get like any note? Like, what were the the notoriety for that? Like, what?
Yeah. So I think just for even today, even in interviews now, I will talk about unsolicited airdrop. It's one of my
Sure.
favorite projects I've ever done, and it was totally a side one. So I think
Yeah.
when people go to my book and they just see that idea, it still stands today. So that's
Sure.
been awesome. But I think that, in addition to my sort of Young Lions second win, sort of put me on the map a little bit and just got me a little bit more exposure than I would have if I had just not done anything. And so by getting that exposure, I got hit up about this job to work on the Nike football account up at Analog Folk in Portland. And like I said earlier, I was just ready to go. So I took that job, and it was awesome.
What's the
It was
agency called?
incredible. Analog Folk. So the agency is actually no longer open in Portland.
Okay.
They have an office in New York, and they have it in Amsterdam and Sydney, I think, as well. It's a really
Okay.
great sort of digital agency. But yeah, when I was in Portland, it was a super tiny team. It was basically uh, ECD, ACD, myself, a writer, a designer, a motion designer, and then some strategists, and it was very small. But I think there we were again super small, super scrappy, and got to like geek out about football all the time.
Love
So
that.
it was yeah, it was really really fun. And I miss that team a lot, and uh, it ended a little bit short. I think Nike took the work in house or something, but
Yeah.
uh, it was a really great experience.
Gotcha. So you've worked at a couple smaller agencies, correct?
Yeah, so going from Sapient to Analog Folk, where it was like
Mhm.
400 plus to like 12, that was
Oh, okay.
pretty. Yeah, it was
You
it
went
was
from
pretty
Miami of 400 to Portland to 12 people.
pretty
That's
much, yeah.
kind of like scary, interesting.
Yep. And it was sort of this big campaign work to much smaller social content.
Yes.
So I've had a bunch of different jobs doing a bunch of different things, and I think the fact that I've been able to sort of try so many different things has been really valuable for me. Like I've done a lot of the innovative thinking and concepting and campaign development, but I've also done sort of content franchises and more production work. So I would
Nice.
recommend to everybody.
Do you recommend one style over the other, or just everybody try both, find your
Yeah,
niche?
definitely try it all. I think especially as a more junior creative, like it's you may have this one vision for yourself and then try it out and it might not be right. So I just think it's important to sort of people say don't bounce around a lot. I've bounced around a lot and I'm all the better for it.
I don't think that don't bounce around a lot even applies to our industry. It's just natural. It happens, and you should, and because you get more
Yeah.
experience, like in your case, yeah. I mean, there's high turnaround, but you get a lot of experience. So, and you're at now a great agency. And what's the type of work you're doing at TBWA again?
This is that really big campaign work. It's a little more
Okay.
traditional, more film, more sort of 360 throughout the year, which is very different. I haven't done that since I was a junior, so I'm still kind of remembering how to like do it
Sure.
all and get and think a little more traditionally. Chiat is really working to kind of be a lot more socially integrated. Like it's not just about that film anymore. How can we sort of break through in new and innovative ways? So I'm really excited at the future and sort of the trajectory of where they'd like to go.
Can you tell that you're at like a special agency? Like, is there some sort of like the atmosphere is different? You're trying the Kool-Aid, as they'll say.
Oh yeah, there's
Yeah,
definitely some Chiat Kool-Aid, and I'm kind of all about it.
sure.
Right now the big
Pirate.
sorry.
You go by Pirates, right? Isn't that like
Yep,
their...
we're pirates, which is awesome. I actually have a skull tattoo on my arm, so it felt very like on brand for
Oh, was that
me.
because you got the job there, or...
Oh yeah, I got a tattoo to celebrate my job. No,
Gotcha.
I got that a while ago. But no, it's great, and something that they really believe in is that the idea is king. You know, it can come from anywhere, and sort of everybody is aligned that we are all about making the best work that is all about the idea. And yeah, it's really refreshing to get everybody excited about sort of trying to really make good work.
Yeah. So what was the process of getting hired at TBWA? Was it difficult? Did it take long? How did they notice you? Give us the details there, because a lot of our audience wants to end up working at an agency like TBWA or a Good D or Wyden or Droga. Like, they're all in the same, that A-list large scale agency. How'd you get there? What was that process like?
Yeah, so honestly, like good old LinkedIn, it is the spot. And
Mhm.
I would recommend identifying a recruiter or head of recruiting for any agency, and then you reach out to them. In my case, I believe they reached out to me, so I guess I got a little lucky there, but definitely would recommend just reaching out to people and starting a conversation. Like communicate your interest, and let it go from there. But yeah, so reached out. I was looking for a new job at the time, so I took it. And I just had a great conversation with Megan Diamond, who she's head of recruiting or people
Mhm.
person there. And yeah, just had some really great conversations with the team. We didn't know really what account I was going to be on at first, but landed on Gatorade and was just really excited at the opportunity.
Gotcha. So it's not impossible. It's not even
No,
that crazy sounding. It seems pretty
no.
logical, and that's how, that's how it works sometimes. And you followed up, and she reached out to you, but you can, sometimes it takes a couple follow-ups, and it can be a slow process. That's why you want to start ahead of time,
Definitely.
and
And don't
sometimes it
get
works out.
discouraged. Don't get discouraged because I've applied to so many jobs. I never heard back from so many, like that Nike one, but I was able to work on tons of Nike work anyway. So it's just like keep being persistent, leverage your network, grow your network, and just don't be scared to try. You know, I think people get in their heads about it, or they think people will. I don't even know. I remember when I was younger, I would just be scared to even reach out. And it's like, no, that everybody will, a lot of people will respond. And if they don't, then they're probably just honestly super busy. So,
Yeah, I've had people for the podcast like respond like 4 months later. I'm like, I don't remember reaching out to you, and then you got a connection. It just takes some time, and people are usually busy.
yeah, exactly. You don't know what's on people's plates or what million campaigns are happening at once. So, just
I
gotta
don't
wait.
get it though. I will make an argument that I have like the Apple Watch, I got the iPhone, and I get a notification from LinkedIn. I'm gonna look at it. Like, I've never missed a notification. Like, that's my argument. What's going on? Like, you just too busy to respond?
Yeah, no, so you won't miss a notification, but I don't have notifications turned on my Instagram. I don't have it turned on LinkedIn. I just don't
Really?
need the like it stresses me out. I don't know why, but I don't I like to opt into my platforms
I do
on
that
my
with
own time.
TikTok.
Exactly. So you know what, you have to just put yourself first, take care of your time, and then I recommend opting into things when you have the time for it versus being inundated with all of this information at all times.
That's pretty smart, actually, because
Yeah,
I'm
moon
always checking my phone.
yeah, no. Like my phone's on moon mode. I don't even my texts right now. I have like 91 texts because I just don't. I'm terrible. Sorry.
Hmm, that's smart. Any other advice that you had, like whether making a portfolio or in a job search, that you want to talk about that we didn't cover?
Oh yeah, I wrote down a couple things.
Yeah, bring it out. That's what we want to hear.
um, so in building your portfolio, yeah, like we said, side projects, but do those ad competitions, do Young Lions, do Young Shits, do DNAD, do it
Mhm.
every year. Find a writer or find a partner that you can just work with and sort of develop that relationship and do all of those because you never know what's going to happen. Like you could actually win and it really gives you a lot of exposure.
Sure.
So definitely recommend doing that. Um, Another thing is that I've learned over the years to really trust my gut. I think that I've been exposed to a lot of work, been able to work at a lot of great places, work with a lot of great people, and it's just sometimes all that information can kind of develop this feeling inside of you, and you know if an idea is good. And if people don't agree with you, that's fine, but just trust that what you think is true. And yeah, trust your gut.
Love it.
Another thing is, so sometimes you also need to know when to let go. This is something that I'm still working on, but yeah, sometimes my gut tells me like this is the right idea, but maybe somebody above me doesn't agree with that. And maybe you push once, you push twice, and on that third time, it's just like move on. Like let's get to the next stage.
Sure.
Um, that's a tough one though. It's like you kind of have to put your what you believe in to the side and just know that you'll get there eventually.
Yeah, and that takes experience, right? Like over
Oh
time, you
yeah.
learn all that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And sometimes you just need to take a L here so that you can get a win somewhere else.
Love
So
it.
yep. And then I think the last one is really just about your network. Like your network is incredibly valuable, and if you meet someone great, like don't let them go. I've met a lot of great creatives in all the different states that I've lived in. Met a lot of great producers and mentors and even models, and it's just like when you meet good people, just keep them on your roster, and bring them up when you need in the future. I think who you know and sort of that network that you build is just super, super valuable. And agencies recognize that. And sort of people who are looking to hire you kind of want that as well. And again, that comes with experience, but
Yeah.
grow that network.
Yeah. Your network is your net worth.
Yeah, man.
Love it. Awesome. Well, great. Can people reach out to you if they have any questions on portfolio building, being an art director, great agencies? And
Yeah,
if that is okay, how do they reach out to you?
absolutely. Hit me up anytime. I'm not great with notifications, but I promise I will respond.
Mhm.
And you can hit me up on LinkedIn, which is just Claire Zimmerman, or you can hit me up on email, which is its.claire.zim, I think, at gmail.com, no apostrophe. So yeah,
Perfect.
feel free to hit me up.
Well, this has been great. We packed a lot in, and it's getting a little bit loud here where I'm at. So we're gonna end it. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you. Thank you, Gina. This was
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. Did you hear anything on this episode about a job you'd like to have someday, soon, in advertising, strategy, design? The kind of job where you use your brain and your creativity? If you did, chances are a portfolio can really help you get that job. That's where Chicago Portfolio School comes in. They have programs and classes that help you show off your thinking and get you the job you want. So visit them at chicagoportfolio.com. And if you drop my name, Gino, into the chat box, they'll send you more info and a cool Sharpie. Or just some more info. You can decide that. Thanks. Thank you all for listening to this entire episode of the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. I hope you enjoyed this week's guest. Make sure you go and connect with them on LinkedIn. Tell them that Breaking and Entering sent you. Now, thank you to Mikey Malarkey, our audio technician, and Buchun Zhang, our creative director, as well as the student team from the Midnight Oil Agency at the University of Illinois. Can't do it without you all. Thank you very much. We will see you all next week with another amazing guest.